Hey everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome back to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny weapons, abilities, loadouts, complaining about stasis, and the sandbox at large. How the hell are you? I'm Fallout. We got with me tonight everybody. We got Cammy, we got Merc, we got Drew. Couldn't get Cool Guy though. We had to reach into an alternate reality and grab his evil twin.
Evil cool guy.
This is Chill Man. Chill Man Plays. Boys, it's been a minute. How are you?
Excellent. How are you guys?
Good.
Still recovering from the day one raid, I swear. But
Mentally or physically?
Mentally.
Emotionally?
Nah, I'm doing good.
That was a fun raid though. Yeah, so we were supposed to go live last week. That was supposed to be a whole thing. But then, surprise, surprise, out of nowhere, we got Hawkmoon, and I know that a lot of us wanted to talk about it right away, but we also wanted to get a feel for the gun, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we can't just dive right in and start making wild speculation about guns that we barely get our hands on. I mean, come on, we're not Reddit, right? So let's actually take the time. I got a letter about
Hold on now.
Gotta take the time, feel the weapon out. We had a whole bunch of things. Actually, we had a whole bunch of stuff that we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about dawning weapons. We gotta talk about Hawkmoon. We gotta talk about Iron Banner, which was a thing too. So much to talk about. But before we dive in, Cyberpunk, how that game has totally met everyone's standards for quality across the board without question, right?
Game of the year.
Game of the year.
Especially on Xbox One.
Exactly. You're right. Top notch, top shelf. Well, F it. Let's just dive right in then. Who wants to talk about Hawkmoon? Anybody at all? Should we even set the stage? I mean, I was reading some really wild opinions about the gun, right out the bat, that it wasn't living up to the hype. I was like, oh, it's bad, it's unimpressive. Someone called it Hawk meh, or there was a whole bunch of criticism day one, and I was like, am I using the same gun? Because it feels good to me.
Alright, some background for the viewers then. In Destiny 1, Hawkmoon existed with a perk called Luck in the Chamber. It had 3 lucky rounds in a magazine of 13, and they could stack. So on occasion, you could get a one-shot kill just for being lucky. That was Hawkmoon.
Yeah, if you're in D2 and you never really got into the world of D1, there were a lot of weapons that featured literal RNG. The gun was kind of centered around RNG. Hawkmoon probably being the most definitive RNG focused gun, right? And I didn't get my hands on it for a while because I was an Xbox guy. Merc, I know you're probably a cool guy too. Same boat. Yeah, we didn't.
Were
get
all of us
later.
Xbox dudes? I think.
Yeah,
I think we might
all of
have
us.
been.
All the best PvP players.
Yeah. Yeah, but you could get luck in the chamber. So randomly, as Cammy put it, your bullet would just come out magically more powerful, and there were two bullets that were extra damage, and they could three. Oh, dear God, and they could.
We didn't get Hawkmoon. We didn't get Cyberpunk.
Yeah, they could stack and come out of the barrel at the same time, or you could just get one uber god tier powerful bullet.
Yep,
so people
that
are
was it.
bleeding
You
the
could spawn
mag.
in and shoot 3 shots and just hope a lucky round doesn't come out.
Intentionally drain the mag because it would tell you when the lucky bullet would come out.
It wasn't
So if you-
always like that. It made a ring later. They updated Luck in the Chamber, and that's when it just became a must-have perk for me. I started running low magazine hand cannons with that.
Yeah. There was that
And if you
feature
didn't hear
called
the
hand
sound,
cannon.
you know you're about to turn the corner and just two-tap somebody.
Exactly. Brutal gun. And it became a lot of people's favorite hand cannon immediately. Cool design. It was just awesome.
It's a Desert Eagle.
It's pretty much a Destiny Desert Eagle. And Bungie wanted to do away with, I mean, is my current understanding, right? Bungie no longer wants to return to a world where luck in the chamber is a thing. And I'm totally down with that because that is really irritating to me. I like to remove all RNG from my shooters if possible. And so people knew that when Hawkmoon was coming back, it wasn't going to be the same. Like, you know, we're not doing the Lucky Bullet thing anymore. So I think people were just kind of thrown that it was like, oh, it's so much different than we remember. But that doesn't mean it's bad, though, right?
Not at all.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Nope.
Are we all in agreement? Like, do we all think the gun is cash money? Because I think it's great.
I think there's 3 things going on.
Okay.
Number one,
Let's hear
I
it.
think there's a crowd that's upset that Hawkmoon is back without Lucky Rounds, therefore it's trash, right? You destroyed Hawkmoon, it's the worst thing in the game. Like, there's that crowd.
All right, sure.
Then there's the crowd that thinks that the gun is bad. And then there's a crowd that thinks both of them. So, if it were to be, like, let's... A random, like, let's say it was called Horizon, right? Say, like, that was a new exotic hand cannon, and it's what this Hawkmoon does. I think you'd be like, dude, this is pretty sick. But since Hawkmoon's tied to it,
Right.
I think that's just another layer. I think the gun's fantastic. The 93 aim assist, it feels good in your hands. It can have the random rolls, rangefinder to get it to 34, 35 meters, killing wind, opening shot, whatever it is. I think it's great. Like, I've been maining it.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. They could have put. Yeah, go for it, Drew.
I wanted to respond to what Cool Guy said. You said that really well, that there's like a few camps. And I wanted to mention that the one last polarizing thing that I saw between, like, there's a lot of reviews like ours that are like, holy, this is like amazing, to this is kind of eh. And I think you categorize that really, really well, dude. And I think one of those influences to like what make the gun feel meh is it's, you know, controller players versus mouse and keyboard players. And I think that's a big one. Because a lot of us, everyone here save for Cam, is a controller player. And I think it's very sound to say that on controller, it is one of the best, if not the best, like most consistent hand cannon I've used in the entire game.
I fully agree.
Quick for the record, I've actually been maining M&K for the last like 2 months on PC.
He's like, hey, don't throw me in there with you guys.
No, but like
Actually,
I still.
Oh,
Yeah.
goddamn.
Come on, man.
Look,
Come
you're
on,
a
cool
rhythm
guy.
gamer.
Come on, Drew. Don't put me in that. No, but I got my Scuf controller. I still love it. I'll whip it out every now and then. But like, I just play a ton of PVE on M&K. I don't know why. It feels really good. So like, I did the raid M&K. I've just been playing so much PVE M&K that it just kind of like, I just went into Crucible. I was like, should I plug in the controller? I was like, no, I'm fine. And I have used Hawkmoon on both controller and M&K for the record. And yeah, really good on controller, but like, I also love it for M&K. I think it's just a great, solid weapon all around. I think it performs terrific no matter how you're playing.
But where I empathize, though, it's like, yes, it's good. Yes, it's still a top option. But I think the way this gun feels for a lot of people is it's like the best legendary hand cannon you can ever get. The perk, it's neat, it's cool. I think it's powerful, and I think we're all in agreement on that. But it is a bit more niche than some of the other weapons perks. And like for an M&K player, I can totally empathize with the fact that you have things like Ace of Spades to choose from, which like. Dude, a lot of M&K players hail Ace of Spades as one of the best feeling, best overall, especially now with the 140s, best overall hand cannons. And if you're going to be using the exotic slot on something, I mean, Ace of Spades, to me, I think it's looking like a better pick for M&K players. Same with, you know, just using the normal opening shot rangefinder, Dire Promise, or, you know, if you have an old spare and you're playing quick play or whatnot. I think these weapons, I think a lot of M&K players are still associating with these weapons being better than Hawkmoon, and it's because mouse and keyboard doesn't have an issue with inconsistency on hand cannons, generally, for the most part, whereas controller, you know, we have to invest a little bit more in these sweet spots and stats to make sure that the gun feels great, not to say that others can't, but I definitely see how this could be a lot more noticeable for controller players than
For sure.
M&K players.
Yeah, for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, there's obviously the difference in input when you're using a hand cannon, M&K versus controller. Very noticeable if you go back and forth between both methods of play. And my fiance, who is a hardcore controller main, like all of us, grew up on the sticks, bro. And she got Hawkmoon, and she was like, "This gun is like fucking awesome."
Yeah.
And I will agree with some people out there that even though the exotic perk is hilarious when you get it to work, it's not going to come in and help you as frequently as, like, you know, Thorn with like the damage over time or whatever. But what Hawkmoon brings to the table are like wildly impressive base stats, like killer stability and like feel and range and good recoil direction, incredible aim assist. Like it brings all of that to the table for like a really high floor performance hand cannon. That's what I think. Correct. Yeah, we haven't even touched on that yet.
So
go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, Ace got every perk in the game. Hawkmoon got every stat in the game. That's how I look at it.
That's a good way of putting it.
But for an MNK player, are those stats worth is that worth going for over the perks? Because
I think it's noticeable,
I don't know.
and we have yet to have it with the random roll variant.
Yeah. Which if you're listening at home, I'll go on.
I think the random rolls are going to make it a lot more desirable for the MNK players.
It's a big trade-off on MNK because it's taking the place of Icarus hand cannon. It's perfect consistency in the air versus you now have to roll the dice. And that's the point of contention with a lot of MNK players. I think opening shot is going to mitigate that enough for me to warrant it.
Especially if you're holding the rounds, right? If you have the Paracausal, I mean, just for everyone that you tap, that first one's coming out strong. But like, I think it's really worth talking about and get opinions on the 8-round magazine, right? 8 rounds. It has built-in alloy. That's one thing that isn't randomly rolled, and it's actually kind of perfect. Fast reload when the magazine is empty. You can add on a hand cannon loader. I almost use it like I'm in PvE while I'm in the Crucible. Like I am just going through rounds, reload and go, reload and go. Especially when you get comfortable with it and you start landing shots. You land a 3, miss 1, but you land 3, and then that 4th one's going to be a 1-tap, and then you just keep going.
Can we refresh the viewers with what Hawkmoon does?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. So Hawkmoon has 8 bullets in the magazine. For landing a precision hit, it stacks a Paracausal round. At 6 stacks a Paracausal round, the final round will one-shot Kill a Guardian, and 7 will one-shot body Kill a Guardian.
Yeah. Or a super in the head.
Or a super in the head.
And also, it is final blows too. So like if one's really weak and you body shot him, it will give you a round. It will give you a charge.
Yeah.
But I think if it was more than that, if it was 13, like then people would really be talking about how, quote, lackluster the perk is. Like it's right in the sweet spot to where you get it a lot, but it's not overboard, or it's not like you can't work with it. I think the reload is fine, man. I think it runs smooth, especially like because you dip in and out of cover, you reload it and you go back in.
The magazine was bigger too. Unless they changed the way Paracausal worked, you'd have people like hitting 7 or something, and then like burning shots.
Bleeding the mag. Yeah, it would be a big problem if it was a large mag.
Which is embarrassing because you hear that from across like the map. You hear just like
shooting
like
the
people
ground.
Used to do with final round snipers right at the beginning of the match. And it's like nobody wants to hear that.
I think 8's the perfect number. It gives you one mistake or one out of range bullet or something like that. Yeah.
Another thing that what I noticed about it is that like I think Cool Guy kind of touched on this, is it allows you to make use of the perk nearly every other engagement, like perfectly. So let's say, obviously in a perfect scenario, you're going to 3-tap one person, 3-tap the next. So you're not going to be able to use that every other engagement in that scenario. But if you're a normal human being, and no matter how good you are, you're probably going to, you might miss a shot, you might land a body shot. It ends up being a 4-tap kill. It usually means that on your first engagement, you get the kill in some capacity. Next engagement, you're at least guaranteed to like 1 head, 2 body, 2 head, 1 body, depending on your stacks. So that's how I use it. I usually just like, it's like every other to maybe like once every 3 engagements. And if you were to make that any larger, I think like, how are you ever going to see the perk? And it's not like, in my experience, it's not like the reload's long. It has alloy mag there. I feel actually really comfortable and confident leaving the mag at that halfway point, because I know after that individual first half, if I have some like, 3 stacks, if that, you might be able to do it with 2. You're at least going to be able to 2-head 1 body, and that's more consistency. You're guaranteed consistency at the bottom, and then a quick reload.
Yeah.
What do you think,
I was noticing among my Twitch chat, a lot of people were getting hung up on the Paracausal round perk and not focusing more on just the amazing base stats.
That's exactly what I'm like. If you're going to roll deep with Hawkmoon, which you totally should, again, especially if you play on controller, like, don't get so hung up on the exotic perk. It's meant to be like, if you really pop off and play well, it's there to be like a pat on the back. Here's an attaboy. Go reward yourself with a one-shot kill. But that's not the whole appeal of the gun. It's like it just performs really well. And like Drew said, it's kind of like guaranteed consistency, if not for the base stats, if for the fact that you can make the end of the mag, work really well most of the time, even if you don't have that crazy high Paracausal one-shot kill. It's just a really reliable, well-performing hand cannon, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's free damage. It's like it's this weird form of mag howl is like the way I think about it. You have good fundamental play. You peek shot, you hit heads, and at the end of your mag, let's throw the one shot. Let's not think about the one shot because again, against people at your skill level or higher, that's gonna be much harder to achieve. But at the very least, you're like guaranteeing yourself a one head two body or two head one body, and that makes the difference in terms of consistency. That's how I feel about it.
I agreed. I totally agree.
And in sixes, I wouldn't even say that like the one taps and the two taps are rare. I would like in sixes when I was using an Iron Banner, it was like I was getting like 1 to 2 one taps a game, and I wasn't like going all the way out of my way to just focus on one taps. I was just using the gun and keeping an eye on the Paracausal rounds. And if I saw myself, at 4 or something, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to try it this time. If I got 1 kill and I was only at like 1 or 2, I'd be like, okay, well, I'll just reload and use like a normal hand cannon instead. But you keep an eye on the Paracausal rounds and you see how it's going. And every once in a while, you're like, oh shit, I got 6. All right, let me get another, let me get another one and let's see what I can do.
There you go.
And it's when you're focusing on it, it's pretty easy to just get one headshot. Something that I learned playing Symmetry is that people focus so often on getting the kill that they don't think about the fact that every headshot counts regardless of whether you kill the person. If you are helping a teammate, if you are picking at someone at range just to get another headshot, that still counts to your Paracausal thing. So, what I started doing with Symmetry, and I started doing it with Hawkmoon too, is I would see an engagement that I knew that there wasn't really a chance of me getting that kill, but I'd still go for another headshot on him just to help a teammate out or just to do something, because I'd be like, that's one more stack for me, right? One more step closer to an extra damage bullet. Even if I'm not going to get the kill, every headshot I hit helps me.
And go on.
Go for it.
No, you.
Okay, I was gonna say if I find myself with 3 or 4, that's when I make the decision of saying, well, now my next engagement can be a little bit more dangerous. I can 1v2 if I really have to, because the gun will bail me out.
Sure, yeah. You kind of turn into like a card counter there, like it depending on how deep you are on the perk.
Like, and what's so cool about it, like if you really set yourself up, like if you go charge with light, high energy fire, swift charge, and swift charge for hand cannons, you get like back-to-back quick kills. You get charge with light, or maybe you pick one up off the ground. If you have charge with light, high energy fire, times 5 will one shot to the head, right? So like there's a lot you can do with it if you're just kind of pay attention to your stacks.
People jump to conclusions, and they don't like to think. I shouldn't generalize like this, but a lot of the people who I saw
but you're going to
critiquing the gun. Well, I clarified there, and I said that for people. A lot of people who I saw negatively critiquing the gun didn't put their minds up to like the possibilities of what you could do with the weapon. They only looked at it. They took it in a crucible. They're like, it's not as good as Ace of Spades.
Right.
I'm reloading after every kill. I never even see this perk. I hate the gun, right? But they need to take a step back and say, okay, this is how the gun works. How can I alter the play style to fit what this gun does? Because if you do that, all of a sudden it becomes extraordinarily strong. But if you're just going to try to force it to fit, a square peg into a round hole, well, of course, it's not going to be Ace of Spades, right? And like Ace of Spades, you reload all the time. You're always trying to do it. Hawkmoon's the opposite.
And you know what else they didn't do? They didn't do what I did right away, which was go to massivebreakdown.com, open up a spreadsheet, take a look at how those stats compare to other hand cannons, and be like, yo, this thing's a baller right out of the box, bro.
I thought we legit had a sponsor. I was like, what
Shout out.
Shout out to Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah, Raid Shadow Legends over here, the Paracausal round.
Yeah, man, that's 67, and people also complain that it's like, what are you going to do when you get random rolls and you can slap Hammer Forge and Rangefinder on it, right? Like, and then are you still going to be complaining about how badly Ace of Spades outranges it? I mean, it's still statistically going to outrange it a decent amount, but now you're looking at a much closer range differential, plus way more aim assist, plus way more stability, plus Paracausal rounds, I
did forget to mention, which we've touched on a couple times. I'll get back to you in a second. Yeah. I just want to for the people at home who are like, what are they talking about? If you really don't look into the news of the game that deeply, Hawkmoon is like correct me if I'm wrong, officially the first exotic ever that will come with random rolls in the future. Hasn't happened yet. I think we were like debated earlier this week. Did you guys get like a message when you signed in? And I was like, "Yo, Hawkmoon, like, is it time for?"
It hurt our hearts.
Yeah. Then my Twitch chat was like, "No, we can't find the mission anywhere." I was like, "Oh, word." But in the future, we will be able to get Hawkmoon with a random roll, which I think a lot of people were confused by right away. But if you go to you know, like a light.gg or do they have them up on D2Gunsmith.com? Like the perks that we believe that are going to be available for the Hawkmoon, they're pretty damn good. So like whatever feelings you think about the gun right now, I think the base version is very good. I feel like it's only going to get wilder, and I wanted to take a minute to just talk to each of you. What perk, if you were going on a Hawkmoon god roll hunt, what are you looking for and why?
Hammerforge, rangefinder, maybe opening shot. I'd actually take opening shot. I like opening shot a lot. And people don't always realize that it resets if you're not in engagement, right? Like people make the mistake of thinking it's only the first shot in the mag. It's not. It's you pause for 4 or 5 seconds in between shots, you get it back, right? Opening shot with paracausal rounds, you know, if you're on that last round, you basically have a pocket golden gun. So I would go to increase range on it. And I don't want to take all the rest of the perks, but you know, there's a lot of good.
There's a lot of good ones. I have money on what Cool Guy is going to weigh in with, but I'm gonna let it.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I have a feeling too. Actually, I have a feeling too.
I've never heard Cool Guy mention killing wind in my life, bro.
No,
not even one time.
That thing is gonna be like just a vacuum to critical hits, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I would be happy with so many of these perks. If you want me to, if you're listening at home right now, I will regale you with a tale. Here's what we got for column 2. Anyway, or is it column? Actually, no, column 3.
Yeah, it would be.
Is it 2 or 3? I can't tell.
We would say first perk node.
Yeah, it only has one perk node because obviously it has the exotic perk, but then it has the grips, which is grips or perks.
I think grips is going to be column 4.
And the barrel.
And the perk we're talking about, yes, we got barrel. So alloy is going to be the default no matter what.
Yeah, you can't change.
You can't change alloy.
Can't change the mag, but you can change the barrel. You can change perk 1, and then it also has grips. Grips are for some reason exclusive to exotics. I don't know why they kept grips on exotics and didn't give it to anything else.
But yeah, so for the perks that we're kind of talking about right now, after the alloy mag, we got opening shot, rangefinder, moving target, killing wind, snapshot, eye of the storm, hip fire grip, quick draw, and the brand new surplus.
Do you want to talk about each one, like strengths and weaknesses?
If you want, you go for it. I mean, like opening shot, Merc already kind of handled. Rangefinder, anyone want to dive in on that? I mean, like, we kind of briefly talked on that too. It's going to push it a little closer to that feeling of like
it should be like
right?
34 meters. It should be what Ace is, like, exactly, because it hits 30 right now. Ace, when we got the range update, hits like 34, 35, if I remember correctly. So it should be like right there with Ace as far as base range.
Yeah.
It's not exact, but for a rangefinder, if you want like an estimate, like you can add 10% to it, and it's not going to give you the exact numbers, but it will get you like ballpark-ish the rangefinder. So
the next one is what I'm looking for, which is moving target. Like that's like moving target is like my jam. Like I just love like it's always working for you. You know what I mean? Like I understand the value of opening shot. Like every now and then you got to pause to let the magic of the shot refresh, but like moving target is always there. And then you get like the slightly better movement speed when you're ADSing. Like just, I really love moving target.
It's also, and a big thing, Drew, if you want to talk about moving target, one, you know, the hidden thing that it does
is you don't need to be moving.
It's just called
stationary target. They should just call it target. Yeah.
It's target.
More tips on youtube.com/Drewsky.
It gives you passive aim assist just for having the perk on. It's almost like hidden hand, but like half of what hidden hand gave.
Yeah, it's a plus 10 to aim assist as long as you're aiming down sights. You don't need to be moving, in addition to the strafe speed.
So that would put it at the mark of 100 aim assist when you put on moving target.
Yes, it would. Yes, indeed it would.
Okay, for me, there is no contest. It's opening shot every time. The only thing that could maybe take it away from me is if they changed out the perk and put in like high impact reserves or something. That'd be pretty crazy.
Oh, that would be kind of wild.
High impact reserves. Because wouldn't the bonus on that shot be like 25% additional?
It's not. I would think high impact reserves isn't for making the one hit kill already one hit more. It's to make your misses still make the bottom of the magazine hit one hit.
Yeah.
So
That
kill
would
on
be
5
fun.
instead of 6, for example.
This might be a really memey suggestion, but do you think there might be any viability to a Hawkmoon that drops with hipfire grip?
It's cool for montage.
I don't know, man.
I
Good
don't know.
answer
No
for
way, in
Cam.
my
We
opinion.
not Halo up in here. We don't do the hip fire.
Like-
We're not doing the. Good call,
Okay,
Mark.
okay. I feel it's been so long. We need to do something about hipfire grip, boys. Like it's got to get different. We got to do something different with it.
Yeah.
Because even like on an SMG with hipfire, like it's clamping the cone down and it's making it more stable. But remember, when you're in hipfire grip, it does take away effective range while you're in hipfire. And they quote did fix that a little bit, but it's not enough. Like it's just not accurate enough for it to be its own perk. Like it should be almost a magazine or like a barrel or grip.
What if they? Oh, here's a wild thought. Because you're kind of right. Every time I get a gun with like hipfire grip on it, I'm like, oh, gross. Like,
Cool, high impact
never-
scout, hipfire grip. Let's go.
It's not a grip because they didn't have a numerical stat associated with it, so they were like, they probably panicked at the last moment. They were like, all of our grips change a numerical stat, and hipfire doesn't. It's a conditional. Put it with the rest of them. So I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but it's fun to look at. All their conditionals don't show you stats in the API, right? Like we have to do the work to find out what the conditionals do. Like we have to test it in game. But like the barrels, the mags, the grips, those all just give like a flat stat bonus shown in the API. And they probably made hipfire, and they were like, "Oh no, it's a conditional. Take it out of grips. Put it with the other conditionals." It's like,
But like Bad Juju has it, right?
yeah,
Like there's a couple out there that have it built in. I'm just like,
I know.
yeah.
What if hipfire grip was like perfect in air hipfire like accuracy for when you're hip firing?
I'm all over it.
But like
Yeah.
you
But
have
I-
to hit hip fire in the air for it to be
You have to hip
perfect.
fire in the air.
Like that, like there's no bloom. Like you're a baller in the air with hip fire. Would that make?
It's Halo jumping.
well,
There
they're
you
like-
go.
If
Halo
the perk
jumping.
equaled last word, I would use it. The
Yeah.
only gun that I say is a no-brainer for hipfire on M&K is the Drang archetype of sidearm.
Tommy and Smash Mode is also.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
that one's where it's like
Tommy.
baked in though.
Yeah.
A bit little baked in, yeah. What about surplus? I think about a surplus Hawkmoon.
Dark horse.
Dark
Surplus?
horse. I'm on board with that.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
dude.
I
Yeah.
can't get around that perk. I don't.
I've
like
been
it.
struggling.
You don't like
with
it? I
Surplus.
enjoy that perk.
As a hunter revenant,
Here,
I'm
okay.
using my abilities like 100% of the time, and
Yeah.
so surplus has not really been working for me. And I've had more luck with it on like Warlock or Titan, where I have a class ability up a lot more often. But on Hunter, it's like my grenade is being used every time I have it. My dodges are being used every time I have it. My melees are being used, and surplus just like sits and does nothing.
I was literally about to chime in that my Hunter Revenant is the only class that I don't really often go for surplus on, because I am Drew dunking on every mother effer that walks within like a 10-foot radius of me.
That shit's getting nerfed, and it's gonna break my heart.
It's
So-
it's
it's
It
a
also
long time
depends
coming.
on your play style, right? I mean,
Sure.
if you're if you're a little bit more passive, surplus could work on it, right? Some people like that might be their preferred perk, because a lot of people I've noticed just use all their abilities defensively. They dodge defensively, they throw grenades defensively, they melee defensively, right? Like it's instead of planned attack, being aggressive, go out, do the dunk on somebody. It's more so they're stopping people. So like it could work there, but I with that one, I want to see how much stability it's going to give Hawkmoon. It should essentially max it out.
I teabag defensively, but yeah, I'm curious to see if it maxes all the stats. They're pretty close to getting maxed out, so it's only a hair. Maybe one
Yeah.
grenade up is all it
Thing to
takes.
me-
How did nobody laugh at that? I'll throw you a bone there, Cammy.
Okay,
I
thank
thought
you.
I thought it was funny.
The thing that I don't like about surplus that I can't quite get a hold of and I don't like is just how I think the only time where I can really like justify my gun's feeling shifting drastically is when I get a kill, just because that's such a significant indicator and moment.
Mhm.
And for my gun to be shifting, it's like feel, like the stability, range, handling. These are some of the most important stats that make up how a gun feels. When you commit to using a gun all the time, you're committing to learning a feel of a weapon. And
I know
when
exactly.
It's changing that drastically, like that much on the fly, like throwing an ability is not significant enough, at least in my head, to think like, okay, your gun's all right, it's feeling like this now. To me, it's just a bit too much of a jarring change, and especially on Hawkmoon, I don't know. I feel like there's just other strong perks, since its stats are so high as well. And sure, it's a good way to min max, I guess, but to me, and I guess I didn't get to talk about the perks I'd want. Things like either opening shot, Eye of the Storm, or quick draw just seem like, and even like you said, follow moving target, things that are going to benefit you so greatly that are just usually always active
all the time.
And like you take very little thinking, you kind of just get used to like how it feels.
You do bring up a good point. I do feel that because like what your argument in a nutshell might be that like usually, especially with a hand cannon, you're trying to feel out the rhythm and develop a muscle memory with the range, the damage drop off point, the kick, managing the recoil consistently. And when you have something like Surplus, which great, thank you for the benefit, but also depending on how much you're using your ability, like it's really hard to develop that muscle memory ingrained in you because it might be changing so much. I dig it on my Stars and Shadow because I'm not really trying to feel out the muscle memory of a pulse rifle the same way I would be if I'm trying to, with a hand cannon, because there's a very distinct rhythm and pattern of the kick. I think it's a little user preference, but I would agree with you that if you're like a Johnny two-stick player, you don't spend hours and hours grinding each week and you get a Surplus, I wouldn't throw it in the trash, but like there might be a bunch of other Hawkmoon perks here that would be probably a little bit more viable, I would think.
Do you guys remember, like, especially when Bottom Tree Striker was like the meta? I mean, there was Knockout, Frontal Assault. If you've ever used Ace of Spades and then used the Frontal Assault Ace of Spades, that's what I kind of envision what Surplus could do to it as far as the stability, and that would be worth it. But it also depends on your playstyle.
Does Surplus work with the double charges, like the Starfire protocol, or no? Okay, if it did, that might have been nice.
But like, I think it's playstyle based too, man.
And to be honest, if Surplus was a conditional Icarus, I would use it.
Like perfect in air?
Perfect in air if you have all your abilities up. Shit, it could say the super is charged and I'd still use it. It's that fun to me to have consistency.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, we've talked about Hawkmoon for much longer than I thought.
I got the perfect end cap for that. This is what I was going to say. Like, my ultimate take on this is my recommendation for newer players in the game, because low skill floor, and also like masters of the game, because then they can take advantage of the perk repeatedly.
Would be what?
Masters of like Destiny of aiming, they would also like Hawkmoon because they're activating the perk frequently, whereas a new player is just like happy to get a 3-tap on occasion.
Right.
And Hawkmoon will do it for you, man. It has the stats to back it up.
You guys want to talk about the new fusion rifle in the game that has come hand in hand with the dawning seasonal event?
You want to talk about base stats being excellent? That fusion rifle comes with very, very good range. Like,
tell them, dude.
We were looking at the spreadsheet when we were talking about the other night, and we were like, man, it's most of Exile's Curse is like 53. Arentil's 59, the Wizened Rebuke is 55. Those are the three most common. I guess you've got Alotha up there, that's 54, right? This bitch is coming in at 67. It's like, no, sir. It's like,
that's pretty good.
We're coming in
deep,
pretty
good,
right? And then the stability is pretty good too. I mean, it's the best of the bunch at 36, but that's not like a huge game changer. But then the handling out of nowhere is at 40, right? All the others are in the 20s, right? Like 27, 29. Handling for this one's at 40. It does hurt a little bit on the aim assist, but the recoil direction is great too. I put this thing on after my baby Arantil got nerfed, which is what pushed me to the dark side to start using Bastion, by the way. So if anybody blames for that, it's actually Bungie's fault that I use Bastion. But
fair.
They pushed me to the dark side to use Bastion, but the thing is, I love No Time to Explain so much that I've continually been looking for like an energy to pair with it. And obviously a Dord is great, but it's like I don't want a pulse rifle on a sniper. And then Coriolis Force, I was hopeful, but that thing ended up sucking. So it's like, that was
Drang. Sorry.
Very great in PvE though.
Yeah, great in PvE, not great for me in PvP, unfortunately.
So you said the recoil direction was good. Now that you've like listed those stats out, all I think is Arrowhead Break would be amazing on it.
Mine,
the handling up even more.
Has the first one I got, Arrowhead Break, recoil direction 100. Mine has.
Oh, nice.
Dude, Arrowhead Break, Stability Masterwork, Slide shot high impact reserves. It is official.
So, that sounds like
rock
amazing.
solid. Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah.
I actually had one with Arrowhead Break, and I swapped it down to Chambered Compensator because the difference between 188, I wasn't able to like tell.
Sure, yeah.
On the controller, so I was like, oh, I'll take the extra stability anyways. But like, I put it on and was like, oh well, you know, whatever, I'll give it a shot. In love with it. Feels so incredibly good to use as a fusion, and based on how many I'm seeing in the Crucible, I think other people are starting to.
They're back.
Too. Yeah,
they're back.
Oh, remember us talking about the Hipfire Grip perk? I'm talking about the mod right here. I've noticed on M&K, my fusion shot from the hip without even worrying about aiming down sights is so much more consistent than aiming down sights.
That is interesting. On the Glacioclasm fusion rifle, or
just
in general?
Fusions in general.
Just fusions in general.
Yeah, once you have that mod on, it's extremely noticeable, like optional ADS.
I'll have to try and get one with that perk and then use it on M&K.
Couple things about it.
Yeah.
It has a different base zoom than any other fusion in the game. All the other ones are at 1.5. This is at 1.6. So while it being
okay, go on, yeah.
So it not only does it have the highest range stat, it also has a higher zoom multiplier. So when you put those together, like out of the gate, out of the box, it already hits cap for range. These do 48 per bolt, and all of them are capped at 17 meters. After 17 meters, they go to 47, 46, 45. Eventually, well, they carry for 7 meters, and then after 7 meters, they hit their floor, which is you can hit them at 40 meters, you can hit them at 200. If a bolt lands, it's doing 24, right? So with this one, out of the box, it's max range. Like, and then people are going to say, oh, but the cone and the accuracy, the deal with the fusion rifles, what they did to them, it's to a point where it's very black and white. Like, it's either going to hit them or it's not. It's just going to hit them or dissipate, right? So at that point, I'm like, yeah, you could put it into range, but really, like, if you really focus on cleaning up the shot with recoil direction and stability, I think that's going to just be the best overall.
No.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I giggled because you said the magic word during
I didn't
your
want to,
rant.
man.
Take a
See me
little drink.
Yeah.
It took, what, did it take 39 minutes for us to get that word out?
Actually surprised.
It took that long to say the cone word.
We could have just gotten it out earlier.
Fusions are weird, man.
They are
actually
weird.
But this one's good.
In game, so I got 4 rolls yesterday, which is pretty fun because I got to try a bunch of them. I got one with max range, I got one with max stability, and I got 2 that were somewhat in between. The one that I actually settled on was Chambered Compensator, which is plus 10 recoil direction, basically plus 10 stability, and then Projection Fuse, which is like plus 9 range. That's actually the one that I settled on as feeling the best. I'm maybe attributing that to the recoil direction being a little bit better, and that's what makes it feel good. But I actually found that little combination, because I'm usually, especially on controller, I'm usually like max stability all the time. Don't even care about range. You know, give me my fusion, give me max stability, I'm good to go. This is the only one where I felt like having a little bit of extra range made it feel a tiny bit just better. And I could 100% chalk that up to it just being a little bit stickier at distances. But, you know, like you said, out of the box, the range is so darn good that, like, I had an Arantel that I have 7,000 kills on in PvP. And it was like stability masterwork with particle repeater and a high zoom scope, so it's like as much stability as I could possibly get on. Just with Chambered Compensator, I've already hit that stability on Glacioclasm, right? Like, I don't even need to do anything else to it. I just need like the 1 stability perk and I'm good to go. So
we could put the tinfoil hat on. We've learned enough about the game. What's probably happening is that, you know, Cone's sweet spot is lining up with that aim assist on that fusion.
Well, what's crazy about it is
where
like
you're getting the stickiness at the drop off.
Yeah, that it feels lightweight. Like, it's kind of a small model and it's high handling. And what's cool about it is, like, when most people use these high impact fusions, they're using the boxy scopes, right? They nerfed that. With this one, like, your field of view is open, snappy, and it hits where it's supposed to hit, like right in the fusion range. Like, it feels great. I wish I had tapped the trigger. Like, I was thinking about that too, right, when it came out.
That would be nice.
And also, I probably shouldn't disregard this because I did get the Series S, so I'm on the next gen update, so I have wider field of view now too, which I do feel like helps a pretty significant amount. I didn't know if it was going to or not, but I've obviously just maxed my field of view to 105 like immediately.
Good man.
I've only played at like 70 or whatever, 72, whatever the default
72,
was.
yeah.
I feel like that also does make a pretty significant difference in terms of how much visually it seems like the gun shifts upwards in proportion to your screen. Maybe that's just, you know, like a placebo effect type thing, but I do feel like, to me, it looks like the gun doesn't jump as high anymore, because I guess the screen is...
It could be a mixture of a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. It doesn't have to be one or the other, you know?
I think that it definitely feels less jarring on the higher FOVs. Like, recoil doesn't feel nearly as jarring.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like your screen is like going like this, you know, it's going like that. It's kind of the same thing as when you put a high zoom scope on a gun. And like, you know, technically the recoil is the same, but it's actually not, because, you know, you're feeling
exaggerated.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the zoom factor that you mentioned there earlier. Cool guy. How does
they've been doing that a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you have to pay attention, man. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, they've done it like a lot recently on new guns that they're adding. They're starting to tweak that when they've never done that in the past. I think Cold Denial was the pulse rifle that came in at like 1.4 times. When most
I remember that.
The hand cannon zoom, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's interesting. We've got to add another field to the spreadsheet, unfortunately.
I was going to say that Glacioclasm is the Drang of fusion rifles, sitting mildly higher on the pedestal, because like, I have a higher zoom factor than you, deal with it. And it's like, it explains a lot. I was going to do a video on it, hadn't begun to do my homework, I just wanted to get a feel for it. I was rolling in PvP with it like an hour ago. I was like, this feels good. Like, I know I got a good roll like right at the bat, but it just felt good, reliable.
And what's cool, like 8 out of 10 times, you're gonna get a great roll, dude. Because like in each column, like in the first one, like there's under pressure, there's surplus, like there's stability wise. And then on the other side, it's, do you want grenade energy, demolitionist, or do you want more 4-bolt kills? So there's swashbuckler, there's high impact reserves. So like what's really cool is most of the time you're gonna get a good fusion. Then there's the rare occasions where you get the field prep auto loading, like Cam. But you know.
I do have to say, if you combine liquid coils with high impact reserves, obviously in PvP you start with like 2 in the mag anyways, right? So high impact reserves becomes activated extraordinarily quickly in PvP, right? So I love high impact reserves on this gun, especially because the last column for PvP isn't like there's not like a standout best perk. You've got Demolitionist, which is good. You've got Swashbuckler, which is okay. High impact reserves will jump you right up to, I think, 49 and then to 50 on the last thing. If you combine that with liquid coils, it goes 50 and then 51, right? That helps because the damage fall off, like Cool Guy mentioned, is capped at 17 meters. This is something everybody thinks that Bastion has the most insane range ever. Bastion actually doesn't have that far a range.
It's the most consistent.
It's very consistent because of how much damage output it does. But if you actually want to map someone, get one of these that has damage bonuses added onto it, and then you can map people with it. Like, you can easily be getting kills into the 20+ meter range, especially because it only takes 4 bolts normally, right? And then you start stacking that up. It's pretty easy to hit 5 bolts. Every other fusion, except for the rapid fires, takes 5 bolts. So, people sleep on this stuff, but it's pretty good.
I think Hedrons does 64.
Yeah, if you're using Hedrons. Or Charge of Light. Obviously, now everybody's discovered Charge of Light's a thing. Right?
It's so good.
Stack of Rampage.
You're not doing it, you need to do it.
It's only been in the game forever.
Yeah.
So, for someone like myself that knows pretty much nothing about fusions and hasn't picked up their I guess there's an early free drop you get essentially for doing the quest.
Correct.
What is the role to be looking out for?
Ooh,
whatever Fallout that he had, I want that.
Something with recoil direction and the first perk, so like arrowhead break, chamber compensator, and then I would go
liquid
coils. You can also do a projection fuse, particle repeater. Depending
well,
on what you
liquid
want.
if you're looking for like deep mapping capability, right? Like
I'm gonna go with liquid. It's gonna be mine for, if anyone cares about that. So
I of course wanted Killing Wind in the first one because Killing Wind does get it past that 17 meter cap. Killing Wind does push it past just a little bit.
Yeah.
But you get the movement speed, and remember, I mean, with these frames, to be stationary, you have to be crouched. So what's cool with these is you can strafe left and right fast. You have like essentially snapshot or quick draw because of Killing Wind, and then you're in hip fire, you're charging up, you're strafing fast, and as soon as you shoot the shot, aim down sights, do a quick crouch, and it's sent. So that's why I like it. And I pair that with demo because of stasis. I mean, we want more grenade energy for stasis. Come on.
Yeah, and then other options, slide shot. It's got the good slide shot, so it's range and stability. And like you said, it pairs really well with the intrinsic perk that the high impacts have anyways. So slide shot's great. It's only like a 2-second timer.
It's a very short,
Can you
very
get
short
slide shot high impact reserve?
Yes,
Just to be clear.
that's what
Okay, so my thought on that is,
good.
once you pick up green off the floor and you reload it normally, you have to dump the ammo to get back to this half. But with slide shot, you can just keep it half forever.
That is what I've been using with mine. Yeah, I never reload. I slide to keep the mag low, to take advantage of high impact reserves. It's pretty.
Yeah, there's a lot of good. There's so many good roles for it. It's a
you also got under pressure, and obviously under pressure pairs extraordinarily well.
That's a good one.
Reserves,
Yeah,
so that's bonus stability and accuracy. So
I like that one.
My god roll is going to be chambered compensator, liquid coils, under pressure, high impact reserves. Is going to be what I'm going for.
I think Wizen could roll that too, right?
Yes.
And I didn't get one, unfortunately. So.
I think I had that one. I'm sorry, but
yeah, I went for that on Arental because they could roll something similar. I went for that on Arental for hundreds of rolls and never got one. I ended up getting 3 out of the 4. Where I had a long zoom scope, liquid coils, high impact reserves, and like auto loading holster or something, which was the worst thing to pair with high impact reserves. So it's like, oh jeez.
Yeah, fun weapon to be sure. And you can get it really easy. Yeah, don't you just feel like bake cookies and bring them to people?
Yeah, it's just baked cookies. So I got mine on my very first one. Some people, it took them like an hour of playtime turning in cookies. So
yeah,
I got 4 yesterday, and I turned in like maybe 30 cookies total. So yeah, I had a pretty good rate. Also, I feel like I should say this because I forgot. I know I'm talking a lot, but it's because fusion rifles, and I love fusion rifles.
You go for it, dude.
Do not go with accelerated coils or a charge rate masterwork. Those will fuck you
because they're going to lower the impact per bolt. Yeah,
it will end up dropping the bolt damage by like 2, and you won't be able to 4 bolt anymore. So do not do that. Stay away from those on the high impacts. It's different on some of the other ones that they're not right on the cusp of not being able to 4 bolt or 5 bolt. But yeah, don't do it on this.
And someone's counter argument to you, if they're like a super like, oh, but I love my accelerated, but it's like, okay, if you want to voop people quicker and you're fighting them at very close range, accelerated coils could work because you don't need to rely on the 4 bolt. If they're that close to you, you can hit them with the 5 bolt. But then the Mercules counter argument would be, if you're going to fight people within like an 8-meter range, just shotgun people, bro. Like the fusion is designed for like the medium to medium long range maps. So I would agree. Accelerated, it's going to hurt your damage per bolt. It's like the worst feeling. Don't you agree? It's like the worst feeling in the world where you're in a fight, hit them with the Voop, they kill you, and it's not quite a trade. They have that much health left, and you're like, I hit them with 4, and like accelerated coils made it just, I couldn't get the kill. If I didn't run with that, I would have gotten the kill. I hit him with 4 bolts. Damn it.
So
it's a bad feeling.
Let's remember Destiny 2's hit scan with these bad boys. Like targeting adjusters were really good on it.
True.
D1 they were projectiles, and you say that little sliver, it just reminded me because like how Destiny 2 works is like if you're shooting that bolt and it's shooting them out, if you get killed, like it just stops, right? There will be bolts that don't hit because of that, or like say you quick swap to a hand cannon, like it'll land a bolt, but not. Whereas in Destiny 1 they were projectiles, you would land all of them. It's crazy.
I bet there's someone at home. I mean, we've gone into hit scan versus projectile before, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Okay.
If you don't know what that is, go look it up. We take more time to explain, but we're running short on time now.
Is that I don't know if it still works this way, but it used to work that they actually did not have hit scan. Everything was projectiles in the game, and they set the projectiles they wanted to be hit scanned to a very, very high velocity.
Really?
So for all intents and purposes, they were. Yeah, but like it would be projectile velocity 999 or something like that, because everything was coded as a projectile, but they could make it to where it could cross the map in a single frame, and so for all intents and purposes, it was basically hit scan. I don't know if that's still the way it is anymore, but a long time ago when I was messing around with things, I noticed that, and it was like increasing projectile velocity on a scout rifle. I was like, what the hell? Like, why would you ever increase projectile velocity on a scout rifle? And I realized it's because it was coded in as
so you can decrease it to make sky burners, of course.
Yeah, pretty much. It's so that they can actually modify things behind the scenes if they wanted to, but obviously for everything else they just don't. So the max range on a hand cannon is like 120 meters or something before you can't hit anything. They just make it to where it crosses that distance in a single frame.
They need to make an exotic with negative velocity, just for zombie hunters. just for them.
That reminds me of Skyburner's Oath, which, like, originally when I looked into it, I was like, oh, it has no damage drop-off. And then, like, I learned later, it's like, oh, it's because it's projectile. But, like, it hits so quickly, it's projectile, but, like, the bullet speed is, like, crazy fast. Like, it's just weird. Anyway, in a... In a statement that will surprise no one, we have spent 52 minutes talking about two guns. You guys want to talk about how about a third, baby? You want to talk about the Iron Banner guns, which were the guiding sight scout rifle and the steady hand cannon?
I saw a Cool Guy's video on the scout. I thought he did a pretty good job. But I'd like to hear about the hand cannon.
Cam.
Well, give us a little little preview.
TLDR.
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
On the scout?
You studied up the scout.
You've studied that.
It's like the
got
scout.
the PhD in the guiding
So
sight.
the scout, dude, like, the scouts are so pitiful in Destiny 2. All right. For whatever reason, and you know, I talked about it in this video. So there's no more drastic change from an exotic to a legendary than the scout rifle. I mean, the Jade Rabbit has 85 stability, 80 aim assist. The Polaris Lance has, I believe, 75 stability, 39 aim assist. All the legendary others, like the scouts, the 150 scouts, like the distant sight or distant guide or whatever, the new one, like their stability is 28, reloads, 29, 31. Like they're all bad stats. So like they just continually feel bad in your hands. Well, this one has a couple perks that we've never seen on a 150. We have Rapid Hit and Surplus. And Surplus is a rare moment, especially with the Scout, because if you're using a 150, that's a choice, right? You have to be in a mood. It has to be a particular map that you're not using Jade Rabbit. You're not using Polaris. So with this one, you're kind of in the back. Surplus gets its stability up there. It gets it to like 70, 80, 90. Like it gets it really, really good to match the exotics. And Rapid Hit we've never seen on the 150, so it actually makes it feel good. And the second perk node, there's Zen Moment to make it more stable. But, I mean, when push comes to shove, I would still probably go Jade Rabbit over that in the kinetic slot. But it's good enough that if I do want to run, like, Duality or an exotic special, I could run that Scout. I think it's the best one that we have so far, even better than Scholar. But we're going to have to see how Scholar looks with like an Adept stability masterwork and things like that. But I think that this might be the best one.
Tried the Transfiguration Scout from Last Wish?
It's good.
Kill Clip Rampage?
Not that one.
No, that's the one. No. That's the white whale that like eludes me, man. I try every week.
Yeah, dude.
It's a shame.
The only thing that jumped out about the Iron Banner Scout to me, and I actually ended up getting this role, I haven't tried it yet, was actually an Iron Gaze role, simply because I thought to myself, like, and that combined with the sights that don't add any zoom. So it keeps the zoom as low as possible, and then Iron Gaze obviously cranks up your aim assist, turns your accuracy down. So I guess what I'm hoping for out of that is to have a little bit more of a close range, viable 150 Scout that kind of mimics in some way or another the old 150 hand cannons. Because again, you'll have the aim assist turned way up, your range will be set back, and it's likely that your sweet spot of the aim assist gun will also be set back. And hopefully that'll make it more versatile for the majority of mid-range engagements that we find on nearly every map.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's what I was hoping from it.
And they buffed that aim assist.
Yeah, it's hard though.
Yeah, they did.
And you're getting more of that. Yeah.
The zoom's pretty high on that, and that's kind of what kills a lot of the high impacts for me. Is that the zoom is so high, and we've seen such a dearth of like really long range maps, like with the exception of like Midtown, like the looking from C to A type zooms, like you just don't have a ton of sight lines where you really feel good with these. And scouts like Night Watch and Trustee, for the most part, can cover those same sight lines.
Trustee's amazing.
Yeah, and Trustee is so disgustingly good right now, and the role that I want eludes me, unfortunately. But like, if you want to use a scout rifle, there unfortunately are better options than the 150s that are legendary at this point in time. And I think you said in your video, go out and like, this is the best of the legendary 150s, and it's still just like, I mean, try it for yourself and see how it feels playing with it, because it's probably not going to feel tremendously great.
You got to be in a mood. But you could do what I do, try to get a god roll anyway, and then stash it away in the bank, and then, a couple months later, Luke Smith gets a wild hair up his ass. He's like, 150, so you're gonna be great. I'm like, oh, good.
I didn't get the hand cannons that were good.
I think they learned.
I got a ton of steady
hands. Oh, you didn't
hands.
get the hand cannon?
I got a ton.
I got that like the last minute Iron Banner was up. I like, barely squeezed the game out and got it.
What roll did you get?
Swash. What was your roll, Cam?
That's pretty good.
Quick draw swash, hit mark for no negative to any stats, reload masterwork, and high cal.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
I think it's really good. Pairing it with Fighting Lion, get that quick draw,
I gotta tell you, oh, go ahead, Drew.
I didn't get the rolls I wanted, which was, I think, quick draw and iron grip with as high stability as I could get. But I did get some good rolls. I got a moving target, snapshot with ricochet and true sight, as well as stability masterwork. So that felt really consistent.
Good. Yeah, that's really good.
Peak shooting as well. And then surprisingly, I used all day today an iron gaze roll with slide shot and range masterwork, steady hand, and high cal. And I'm like really liking that, like a surprising amount. Like I really undervalued that combination of perks, because the range still feels like it's not like as high range, but it still feels like plenty suitable for like Javelin and like Wormhaven and the majority of maps anyways. And you're still like kind of mitigating that loss in range with slide shot. At the same time, you're mitigating the reload, stability. It feels like shockingly good.
So apples to apples to Sturm. How do you compare the two?
I think Sturm's overall still more consistent. I think the only roll that was really ever challenging Sturm was the iron grip quick draw max stability roll.
Okay, that makes sense.
Let me tell you a little bit about steady hand. Like I've been, told you, been playing more M&K lately, and got into the True Prophecy, which is a fantastic hand cannon. Like you haven't rolled the True Prophecy at its hot. It's like it got me hooked on the 120 RPM train. I love 120 RPM hand cannons, or mostly just the True Prophecy. And when steady hand, I saw that it was coming out and like what it could roll with, I got really excited. And I turned in about 5,000 tokens because like I was just sitting like Smaug on a mountain of gold coins or whatever. I just turned them all into Lord Saldbar, and I got a bunch of these hand cannons, and I love steady hand. For me, it might be like a top. It's maybe one of my 3 favorite primary weapons to use in PvP, like right now.
It's awesome.
It is really, really good. And I was talking with Cool Guy maybe like a day or two before Banner dropped, because we were like, Iron Gaze is like the dark horse. Like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Like, what numbers? We were like, what number would you think would be good?
Cutoff.
And like, yeah, what's the cutoff before it becomes garbage? We're talking about like, how bad is it going to cut the range? So I did make a YouTube video covering what I consider are a couple god rolls. And I got numbers here for you if you want me to read them to you for Iron Gaze, if you're interested. So I had a steady hand with a really thick range bar, like dummy thick. It was a range, I wrote down 75 on paper. So you maintain full damage up to 41 meters, okay? Just keep that number in your head, 41 meters full damage.
Okay.
And then, once you get to like 41 and a half, oh, there goes the damage drop off. Okay. So my buddy got one with Iron Gaze. His range bar, 42. So it's a difference of 33 range on paper, which like if you look at it, like you compare it, it's like that's a huge drop in range.
Yeah, that looks giant. So
it's
in
giant,
meters,
33 in
what was
range.
the verdict?
So remember that my big range bar was 41 meters, and his with Iron Gaze was 35. So the loss in 6 meters, which is like not like if you're intending to use your hand cannon like
on
a
some
scout
maps,
rifle.
that's the whole map.
Yeah, like. Like if you're trying to really pick your engagements from far away, like, oh, I want to be like a scout rifle player, but with a hand cannon, sure, go for the range. But like for a lot of engagements that like the average players find themselves in, like you're not going to notice the difference in range drop off at all. And like it beefs up your aim assist crazy high. And like, yeah, I've just been rolling with it, and it's so hard to not land a headshot. It's just like it sticks right to them. It feels really good. I have one with I didn't exactly get one of the rolls I was hunting, which was Iron Gaze moving target, but I did get Iron Gaze Killing Wind ricochet rounds, which is like super dope with a stability masterwork. I got a whole bunch of crazy rolls. I got one, a couple with I think I got the Drew roll, Iron Grip moving target. That one feels really good. Like I just think it's a phenomenal hand cannon, like if Iron Banner comes back in the future and you are sitting on a mountain of tokens and you're looking for like, if you didn't really get into the 120 RPM hand cannons yet, strongly recommend the steady hand.
I got Zen Moment Wellspring. That's what I got to bring to the table. Steady hand.
Oh, Wellspring.
The game wants you to have Wellspring. It really does.
Right? I'm going to Reddit. This thing's trash. No.
It's garbage.
The way you said that.
Yeah, that's what I bring to the table.
Dude, like I was playing the other night, and I was like, yeah, you know what role you on, cool guy? And I said, of course, Killing Wind. And I said, really, anything else? I just went with Killing Wind. She was like, then she did the Bulma start, it dropped. She goes, okay, is this any good? And it was like, it was hit mark, accurized rounds, Killing Wind snapshot. Stability master. I was like, yeah, cool.
That's usually like, if you're telling a story for someone's weapon roll, is this any good? It's about to be like a double S tier roll.
Yeah.
It's like, sell your account, like you're done.
Yeah.
Take it back to GameStop, dude. It's over.
I got a new graphics card. It's a 3090. Is that any good? No, it's trash. It's trash, bro. Give it to me.
But like, there's a lot of good weapons, like the Varix weapons. We haven't even talked about the exotics. We haven't talked about Bacchus and.
Did we? No, we talked about that. Oh, were you not here? No, you were here. We talked about that stuff.
No, that's when Cool Guy was here, not his evil twin.
Oh, right, regular, not chill dude.
Have we found any good use for Icefall Mantle yet?
Any good use for? Oh yeah, you can meme on people with it, and it's really funny.
After you
Like
kill someone, you can
the
activate an
best
overshield on
play
them.
I've ever done with it was I was one shot, I popped it, and a shuriken came off the wall, bounced, and I ate it because I popped Icefall Mantle. But I'm like, well, now I'm stuck here for 20 seconds because he didn't fully crack my shield, so I'm trying to walk away from the guy, regen my health. He just killed me anyway. I'm like, okay.
But remember, Cool Guy, you don't need to run when you have a Glacier Nade and a melee ability that can Superman you across the map. Just remember that.
This is true. Dude, you literally feel like a turtle on its back. Like, it's bad. Like,
it's pretty funny. Unique idea for an exotic. It's like, outside of memeing on people with
you
it
could
in
tell
quick
they were
play.
struggling with balance with it.
Probably. Yeah, because if you could move full speed, good lord, that would be stupid. Like,
I want to take a step back to that steady hand and just like really recommend that roll I ended up landing on, the quick draw swash. Swash is extended timer over Rampage by 1 second, and that makes the difference. Even though you're not getting a 2-tap on all resiliences after the first kill, what it allows is you to take advantage of Swashbuckler on the top tree Dawnblade, which in my opinion is the most powerful class. So you get your first kill, then your next shot is 95 to the face, and you can just chunk the melee, and that'll finish the rest of Swashbuckler. And then from there on, it's 2 taps.
Then it's go time.
The best part is I've been using it with Starfire Protocol, and because it's a 120 RPM, I leg them with the just a hipfire shot, and then just throw the fusion, and it's over. And Quick Draw lets me just quickly swap off the shoddy, pop them in the leg, throw the fusion, and then just Icarus dash so they miss. It's great.
Yeah, depending on how much you like to melee, like Swashbuckler is like very clearly a super powerful option on paper, especially if you're like a lunatic, like Cool Guy with these like double wall bounce throwing knives. Like you just want to go in and like meme on people.
Those are so good.
You get that headshot knife, and you're like,
he throws
time
them
to
off the map
swash.
and they land in like another Crucible match.
Those are so good.
In the head.
Any of the shoulder charge titans do really
for
well
sure.
with Swashbuckler too.
Yeah. Definitely. What do you guys feel about the Warlock Ice Melee retune?
It's good. I think it needed to come back out a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the combination of all the things they did to it hurt it a little bit more than I thought it probably needed. So, as much as I hate Warlocks in general, I'm glad that, I don't want them to be weaker than they need to be. When I beat a Warlock, I want to beat a Warlock at full strength. I don't want to be handicapped.
There you go.
So I'm glad that they got a little bit of the mana back.
They call that the Goku approach.
Yeah.
I want to beat you at full power. I don't want you to be nerfed.
I've been frozen more because in like my head as I'm approaching, I think it's a lot weaker than it is, and I just end up getting frozen.
I got very used to
there's no way, and it hits me.
Damn it. Right? When it was like 16 meters, you'd see Warlocks throw it all the time, and it would just like poof in front of you and do literally nothing when it hit its max range. I got really used to that, and that was pretty fun, and unfortunately, now I get hit like right in the face by that. But the free
those cartoons with the dog on the chain, and they like antagonize it, and it ends up like 1 inch.
Yeah, like in Tom and Jerry, it's like right there. And...
Warlocks So it was awesome.
Throws a pie in his face.
It it made it really bad in PvE, man, when they originally nerfed it. And I mean, the issue the whole time really was how long you were sitting there, dude. 5 seconds, 4.5 seconds. When they nerfed it, they're like, okay, you're only frozen for what is it, a second and a half?
Cold
snap is a second and a half.
Second and a half. Yeah.
So I mean, they slowed down the projectile by 20%. So I'm thinking, okay, it's getting there slower. You nerf the range, and we get out quicker. I mean, the real issue is being there helpless, right? They would sit there, they would floss dance on you, and then kill you, right? Like, it was bad. I think giving its range back, and I've already been in a couple games with it. I mean, they've tagged me the full 20, 21 meters, but I mean, they're in the air, they hit me, I break out, and I'm able to get away. I mean, it was really the breakout from it and being how long, and I think it plays good. Like, I don't mind it at all.
I would agree.
My friend Sides brought up a really good point with the melee that like maybe a lot of people miss initially. If it's slower, that allows a player to use it earlier so they can get back to their guns and act with the rest of their kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's fast, you have to do it later, so you're not really shooting. Just food for thought.
It feels a lot better in PvE now too. So.
Yeah, it does. I just wrote this down as like a side note. Do we think there are any other class abilities that need to be possibly retuned the way that the Warlock melee was retuned?
Whisper of Fissures.
Fissures
oh,
is...
you mean buff?
Anything,
no,
buff or nerfed, buffed or nerfed.
Whisper
You go
of
either
Fissures
direction.
Needs to be nerfed.
Tell me why, buddy.
I love the Shatterdives more, I'm sure many people know that, but it literally feels like a nuke is going off when I Shatterdive people.
It's very strong.
It is.
Yeah.
I think normal Shatterdive is not nearly as much of a problem. It feels far less consistent, and it feels like I can't like chuck a nade out and then be like I don't know, like it feels like 5 to 10 meters away from it, dive and be nowhere near it, and then blow up the crystals that are nowhere near someone, and then they kill them from like who knows how far away. It feels like I'm forced to use it more as a defensive maneuver, much more than like foolishly aggressive and not punished for it and like, succeeding with it.
Foolishly aggressive is such a good way. I have like full confidence. I literally have like full confidence running into a room and just like being like, oh, I'm totally okay with Drew dunking on whoever's in here. It doesn't matter how many people are in the room. Like I'll just run in and jump, and because like you can make a play almost no matter what, Yeah.
So I think the Shatterdive is fine without Fissures, but with Fissures it's
very strong. Yeah.
I think it's okay. I mean, look, I judge things like, I understand that it's really, really strong in the right hands, and this may be specific to console where the player, the skill base or the skill ceiling of players is a little bit lower than it is somewhere like PC, right? Especially with like mouse and keyboard and what you can do there. But what I'm seeing on consoles is I'm not seeing a ton of Shatterdive abuse, right? I'm seeing, I would qualify, like I'm seeing people Shatterdiving as much as I'm seeing people using Chaperone. Like I see good players using it and they're effective with it. But, I mean, I put 3,800 kills or 3,800 defeats on my Hunter this Iron Banner, like last week. I literally played a ton because I was quarantined. Someone who helped me move ended up testing positive for coronavirus. Totally fucked me. I ended up having to stay in my house for 10 days, right? So I did literally nothing but play Iron Banner the entire week, right? I expected, because I've gotten so good at using it and I enjoy it so much, I'm getting like 5 to 6 kills every single game just off of Shatterdive, right? I expected it to be one of the only things I ran into. I saw it a bit. I wouldn't say I saw it a ton. Maybe it's just console exclusive, but I didn't see it enough to where I would think that it would be a priority for me to change. Now, granted, this is Iron Banner. Trials has yet to come out and Beyond Light.
That is true.
That will be the true test.
I will say... Oh, go ahead, Drew.
I personally feel the problem is, as someone that uses it, like...
abuses it.
A ton, like, literally abuses it.
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm not using Whisper of Fissures, like I said, I am more inclined, like I will not be successful the majority of the time if I try to be as foolishly aggressive with it like I won't be successful the majority of the time, in my opinion. I might get decent damage on people, but it's a very high commitment move that leaves you somewhere and gives you a point of vulnerability. And if you don't kill them after doing that move on them, like you're probably not going to be very successful. But Fissures feels like it lets me do foolish things like that and get away with that, and that's my problem. Whereas when I don't have Fissures, I'm like, okay, I know I'm probably not going to be as successful. I can't be that ambitious. I have to use it defensively. I have to use it as a method of punishing someone that's being over aggressive on me. And I like that dynamic better. And currently with Fissures, like I said, it's facilitating too much. Like I get these kills sometimes, and I'm just like shaking my head, like, you know, I'm just like in disbelief. I'm like, I know I don't deserve this. Like I know I literally chose to make an overly ambitious, foolish, aggressive play, and it worked for me. And I think that's a bit of a problem.
I feel the same way. Like if I don't run that specific loadout, like I have to actually plan my engagement. I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of dudes in that next room. Like, what's the play? Am I going for the shuriken bounce followed by a primary weaken shoddy finish? Like I'm trying to actually think it out rather than being like, hey, cool guy, watch this, and like running around the corner. Drew, do you play on high sensitivity on controller? Because like
I play on 8 now. I used to play on 10, so I don't know, moderate high.
Okay, because I'm just trying to think of the maybe not the disconnect, but like the difference between PC diving and like how frequent it is on console, or not frequent at all. Because when I was playing on PC, I felt like when I was on controller, it was like not hard. Well, I guess a little harder. Like I had to hit the joystick a little harder. You know, sometimes when people like you'll meet someone in the air and like you'll kind of jump by each other and like you have to quickly do a 180 and like dive back down. Do you know what I mean? Like, have you ever tried to change dive direction in the air? Like on M&K, easiest thing in the world. Like
no problem.
No problem, dude. Like doesn't matter where you threw the grenade. It's like, oh, you just need to make sure you're diving relatively towards the nade. So like I'll literally jump into a room, and then whichever way I need to dive down for the Shatterdive, like I'll just be like that way, done, and I'll like just zoom in, and like the glacier nade blows up, everyone dies. Like, so
you can change the direction of the dive with your left stick.
Yeah, like you can pick whatever dive angle that you want.
Oh, so you just hit it like that way, and then you'll hard. Okay, maybe that's where my disconnect.
Or you can just go straight down if you don't do anything at all. Like if you literally
like
just
a neutral input,
down,
you'll go right down.
Yeah, that's the way sword hilts work on M&K too. You have to look the direction you want to swipe with the hilt, but on controller you pull the stick the direction you want to go.
Correct.
Yeah, but what I will say is that I'm sure people are good. Clearly, Drew is extraordinarily good with this, right? Like he is. But what I'm saying is I don't know if maybe there's something about console where I'm not seeing a ton of like when snipers were really bad, I would get killed by someone who had like a 0.9 KD in the middle of me shooting their head with a pulse rifle, and I get sniped out of it, right? And to me, I look at that and I'm like, well, that's clearly not right. Like this person didn't do anything to actually earn that kill. To me, that stands to be something where it's like, okay, this person's not good enough to be killing the way that they killed. This needs to be changed. Right now, I'm not seeing bad players using Shatterdive on Xbox and being successful in it. I'm seeing bad players using Duskfield grenades and shucking those things all across the map, pulling people out from behind corners accidentally and freezing you because, you know, if you don't crouch walk out of it and you're in the center of it, you're screwed. You're going to get frozen. You can't get out fast enough.
Is it like a crouch walk that makes you move fast? Or
crouching, for some reason, I've read this on Reddit and I've started doing it and it has been more successful for me. For some reason, I guess your speed isn't affected if you crouch when you're in a Duskfield grenade.
So, what?
Really good
so
tip.
You can,
Kid Scouts the play, dude. Top tree.
Transverses.
Let's go, bro.
They're back.
They're back, boys.
So, or obviously, I think there's a couple of movement abilities that will pull you out of it, but the Hunter and Revenant can't dodge out of a Duskfield, right? So what I'm actually seeing a majority of players using on Xbox is I'm seeing Duskfield spam like all day long. And I'll run into one or two players who are using Shatterdive and I'll get killed with it like once in a game, right? And obviously I'm like, oh damn, that sucks. But I'm never seeing like Johnny Two Thumbs, you know, Soccer Man 1980, like sprinting into a room, Shatterdiving and killing 3 people, you know? So that's kind of for me where I draw the level at is like, are people who clearly do not deserve these kills getting these kills because of an ability, like they were with the Warlock when the Warlock Super was like an infinite amount of time, and they're just like floating around the map pressing trigger, right? But like, you know,
I mean, it's not as frequent on PC either in my experience, but it's just based on my personal gameplay. When I feel like I know I'm doing something stupid, like, and foolish and overly ambitious, and it's working, I'm like, eh.
But early, like, especially with aggressive play, like, it's worth noting and bringing up, like, Backrus really completes that, man, because you can hit and immediately Backrus directionally, and if you miss a target, you've slowed them, right? You're just gonna go right past them. Or you can Shatterdive straight down and come straight back with Backrus.
Yep,
really
that's
completes
my build. Because it now takes away the cost of Shatterdive. So the cost of Shatterdive is it's high commitment, like I said. So you are left with vulnerability. Backrus effectively like leaves you with very little to no vulnerability, because the combo is you put down the nade, you slam, regardless of if you got it going or not, you're out, and then just keep playing.
And if you missed them, you will get them.
But doesn't that sound like a lot of commitment to put towards a build? You're basically running both your fragments are put into this build. You're using Glacier Grenades, which Glacier Grenades neutral game is worse than Dusk Fields, right? So you're running a subpar grenade except for Shatterdive. You have 2 mechanics that you have to do, right? If you don't have Backrus, you're pretty vulnerable if you do mess up your Shatterdive. You're pretty vulnerable when you're on the ground seeing all that thing. So to me, it's like, to really make this build just a boner killer, you got 5 things you kind of got to throw in here.
I will admit that the cost is high. You have to kind of go all in.
That's a fair argument.
Yeah. I don't even run. I don't even run Backrus. I run Frosties.
Frosties have less. They have less of that recovery factor that
they do. But the trade-off is that I get more grenades to throw. Like I can abuse my hunter BS more. So there definitely is a high cost. All I'm gonna say on that is that my personal rule of thumb that I have learned over the years is whenever it's reached a point where I am completely changing classes and I'm like, oh well, I guess I'm a hunter main now. That usually, to me, indicates that there's a problem. The last time that happened, I was like, well, I guess I'm a Titan main now, which when we had the Antaeus Ward exotic boots.
Dude, Trials is going to be a really big look into that. Because
it will be, for sure. Yeah, I want to know what people are bringing to the table. But yeah, again,
going to Reddit.
Usually, personal rule of thumb, anytime I change up my main subclass in exchange for like a completely new playstyle, it immediately gets
remember we just go like straight Antaeus Wards when they were beefy.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Does that happen with weapons too? Like if you change your weapon to a new weapon and then it gets nerfed? Or
no, it's usually with loadouts. It's usually with armor and abilities and stuff like that. It's usually not for weapons.
Right. It's
just my personal thing. But I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens in trials. That will give us like a window into what people are rolling with, and then if people are in fact using it way too much, too easily across all platforms, I'm sure we'll hear about it from Bungie and they'll tell us what they plan on doing about it. So
I'm taking out supers with that combo, man. It's strong.
Except for the Titan stasis super, which apparently is the hardest thing to hit.
Dude, it's got like 60% reduction, right? Yeah. And it's got
that's another good point.
Very long duration.
You ready for this one here? Here, buckle in for this top tier joke. Call cool guy Luke Smith because he's taking out supers.
Oh.
Is that a transition?
Tip your waitresses. No, I mean we can talk about that briefly if you want, but like I saw my shot and I took it. It's the transition. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna talk more about it on DCPOG. Yeah. But today there was a bunch of talking on Twitter,
drama,
a little drama alert about an interview with Polygon and Luke Smith talking about the future of light subclasses and the future of the sandbox and stuff like that. And Luke was talking about how if certain classes or supers are just like massively underperforming, and if they don't conform with like the subclass identity, then it's gonna get wiped. Did you read that? Drew's making a face right now. I don't know what he's
what did I
thinking.
Say? I said they're going to take away all the supers and it's going to be all dark subclasses.
All dark all the time? Because like he mentioned how he's like, all right, take the Dawnblade for example. So like one half of the Dawnblade is like you drop your Radiant Well, and everyone's like, oh, healed and more damage output, and that kind of conflicts with the the class identity of like a top tree Dawnblade, because they're like, they couldn't be more different. One is like defensive DPS, keep everybody alive, and the other is I'm so fast, fly around the map, I'm in the sky. Like the identity doesn't mesh. Like Luke sort of wants.
Well, that's the point.
Yeah, isn't that?
That's what I agree. I don't care. Yeah, go on, cool guy.
But like, each sub has that. I mean, there's Tether, there's Spectral Blades. Like, there's a support, and there's also, you know, like a slaying class.
I don't personally care if a class has like a motto or like a vibe or an identity to it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. I don't care. Just give me options. Give me like.
Dude, the supers
variety.
are cool and they work well, man.
Yeah,
I like the diversity.
that's all I care.
That's all I ever cared about, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
it was
hold
a really
on. If
interesting.
he wants to
read.
take away all the supers, like I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah. Cammy's like, hold on a minute. Let's feel this idea out.
You'll have to yank my Spectral Blades away from me, even though I don't play it as much anymore.
That is true.
Like, I imagine the aspects and fragment system for the light would go to things like making combustion on the Golden Gun, making Viking Funeral for burning stuff with the Dawnblade. You could have Viking Funeral and the Well of Radiance. Like, it would still work.
So I saw a really interesting tweet from Hoplite where she said, like, what if those supers became aspects for the class? Like the alternate supers, the Forsaken supers? Like, what if that was
weird.
An aspect choice?
That's an interesting idea. It's not bad.
Interesting. Right?
I want D1 Radiance back, man. I want to just like pop solar power and run around. My super is just like enhanced gunplay.
I want the firebolts to burn. I want it all.
I want it all. But yeah, I guess stay tuned for later in the week for DCPOG, who will likely dive into that a little further from a 30,000 foot view. But I did want to just quickly touch on it with a top tier joke segue.
But how it sounded like stasis is going to just continually get bigger and bigger and bigger.
It definitely is going to.
And that's an issue for light subs, man.
Yeah, they're not looking fresh at all. It's like your green screen background right now, cool guy. Like, just with very few, not green screen, you know what I'm talking about. With very few exceptions, I'm like so much more into the stasis play than the light play. I don't know.
I feel like it's too early to say.
A little too early?
Yeah.
That's fair.
You don't know what things might change or not on the subclasses, and I think that'll dictate that.
At the very least, the dark subclasses have much more like on the table with the aspects and the fragments and the
customization.
how and the customization and how they all like work with each other. How like if you really wanted to be crazy optimal, you'd be like have multiple people be like, oh hey Cammy, can you run glacier nades? Because like I'm doing a dive build and so like that way it's like I'll have my shatter and your shatter helping me out. So they have more to play with.
I don't disagree.
But with stasis, it was like I was thinking about Revenant. I was like, I like the super, I like the melee, I like the grenades, I like the neutral game. Like I like everything about the Revenant class. Whereas when I switch over to some of the other classes, it's like, well, I like the super, but I don't like the grenade, or I like the melee, but I don't like the super. Or it's because they're stuck in that static bubble where you get one of three choices and you don't get to pick, for all intents and purposes, your aspects and your fragments. Right? You don't get to pick your melees or anything like that. You're just given this chunk, and it's like, this is how you play. What ends up happening is that I'll pick it because I like one or two parts of that thing. But with Revenant, I like everything, and so to me, it's like, well, I find it hard to go back to, for example, Spectral Blades or Night Stalker, right? Not because I actually think Night Stalker is necessarily 100% worse than Revenant, but just because I enjoy playing with every part of Revenant's kit more than I enjoy playing that way with some of the light subclasses.
I don't find that. I find I actually like a lot of the abilities on the light subclasses that I play. Spectral Blades is a great example where like nearly every perk on that thing is just something
good
insane.
kit, yeah.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Bottom tree golden gun's another one. Top tree golden gun's another one that I really like. Bottom tree arc strider, etc. I think that the thing that really pushes I think stasis that bit further beyond even like the team play aspect, which does push it further, is really the fragments, in my opinion. It's almost like we're getting like more perks overall on those classes than on the light classes.
Like 6 perks instead of 4. That's what it seems like.
Exactly. Yeah. So to me, that is just I get more with this one. I get to work with my team, and I get more with this one. So yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
With the aspects, sometimes they're going to give you no or plus 2 or 3 fragments. So like the Warlock has what, 5? 4? Has 4.
Like 18, yeah.
The Titan starts with 1, you get 3 total after you get the second aspect. So like there's a system there to me that if they really wanted to, like, imagine if for the light subclasses they made a blink aspect, right? Remember blink Archstrider in D1?
It's ringing a bell.
Okay. Like what if they did that but had severe penalties? Right? I know there's some Titans out there like, no, you better not put blink back on the Hunter. But that's what I think of. Or maybe like even for Titans, do an aspect that does what Twilight Garrison does without bringing Twilight Garrison back, but give it some negatives and like a fragment to place onto it. Like I think that there's a system there, maybe not that dramatic or that strong, but I think that there's a system there to make a lot of cool things work with those subs to give you a lot of variety.
That's fair. Well, in true DCP fashion, we have about 3 minutes left, and we have not yet gotten to community questions. So
we're doing a fast round.
So once again, I have done a terrific job moderating this podcast, undeniable. Let's do a lightning round of the old questions here. Maybe we'll get like 2 or 3. Oh, here's an interesting one from Truds. Only 1 super survives for each class. Pick 1. Not subclass. Each class.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Oh my god.
Each class.
Oh,
pick
each
1.
class. Okay.
Yeah. Hunter.
Spectral blades.
Tether, so I can make them suffer.
Golden Gun.
Golden Gun. It's iconic.
Golden Gun is pretty iconic.
That's what Luke Smith was talking about, right?
Yeah, the identity of the hunter.
Spectral blade.
What about Warlock?
Well,
be Nova.
Screw them.
Be Nova
Nova's
Bomb.
pretty iconic.
Dawnblade.
Dawnblade is nice. Titan.
So
Chaos
in your head, when you think Warlock, you think Dawnblade?
Yep.
First thing?
Now I do. I mean,
Yep.
like,
100%.
yeah, for D2,
I still think
definitely
Nova.
do. Yeah?
I think that's like the past.
Yeah, quit the
So
past,
2015,
cool
cool
guy.
guy.
What about Titan?
I'm thinking Bubble.
Fist of
Golden
Havoc?
Storm.
You ever
See,
think
now
of
I think
Bubble?
of Titan, I think of Bubble.
I think of Bubble for PvE.
Oh no, PvP too. I'll get to that maybe next episode, but I had quite the time in Freelance Iron Banner.
I want to hear all about
Please
it, bro.
tell me you use Borealis.
The biggest of backpacks with the bubble, let's just say that.
Just body shotting people, reloading rounds, not reloading.
Cammy drops the bubble. Get in my gigantic purple backpack. Let's
I
see.
don't know if it could.
You think about that for a
I
minute,
like the
Drew.
missile. I like the missile.
The missile's sick. I love
That's
the missile.
very funny.
I like the
Oh, I gotta find a good one here. Ooh, here's one. Let's do one for Drew. Question from James Carey. Drew, I saw your wonderful video regarding Posterity's Not Forgotten role. That was a great video, by the way.
Great video.
That was a great video.
Thank you,
Go
thank
watch
you.
it if you haven't seen it.
Accepting my Oscar for my.
Has it held up since the montage? How do you...
Yep. I love that gun. I'll be taking it to trials, and I saw some comments that were like, yeah, well, you know, like, obviously it's a meme. Like, the whole video is like a massive shitpost.
Sure, yeah.
But, like, you know, there's some comments like, yeah, but this is only because, you know, you give Drew this weapon, and it's in quick play, and you can do whatever without it, whatever weapon.
Try that in endgame, Drew.
Trials, I will play it in 3s. I will make it work.
Damn right.
I believe in it. I really like it. I think
Damn right.
There's a satisfaction in the consistency of that weapon that can make me play for hours on end. And it's as simple as my bullet goes straight and my crosshairs stay on target. And that to me is just so satisfying, that pinpoint shooting. And especially when you get the 3 taps revved up. I love it.
Love
It's
it.
not a joke. I inspected him today. How many kills do you have on it today?
I inspected him.
On the Crucible?
7,000.
Yeah, he's got like, yeah.
300.
Already?
Yeah, dude.
Wasn't Merc bragging about his 7K? it's like over multiple seasons.
You're
insane.
On the
You're
game for
insane.
disgusting amount of hours because of how satisfying that game feels to me
Clearly.
and like how consistent it feels.
I have 12 hand cannons in my vault, and none of them have the roll that you have. I'm hunting that exact roll.
You need it, man.
I haven't gotten it yet. I am trying to get it. It has not given it to me yet.
You just ascend when they both.
It is like it's making me mad that I don't have it. Quick one-word answer for the final question from each of you. From Tiger Shark on Twitter, what is your favorite weapon to use this season so far? One word, maybe two, depending on the name of the gun. Go.
Posterity.
Yes.
Symmetry.
Hawkmoon.
Cool guy, or not cool guy? Cammy. It's the beard you look alike.
Let's go last word.
I'm going steady hand.
Crazy. They're all different.
I like it. I didn't think we would
Cool
actually
lineup.
get different answers there.
Diverse.
Sick.
I'm going to say Dire Promise. No.
Oh, why didn't I go fish
No!
and say last
Damn
word?
it!
With Fell Winners, no.
Drag. Well, there you go. We're only what the Christ was
Sorry.
Okay.
Apparently, I got an email on my phone which was mounted so that I could watch the stream fell down based off the vibrations. So,
all good.
fuck you. Rick.
Well, there you go. We didn't get to too many questions, but we got what, 3? Not bad. Could have been worse. Thank you very much for joining us. We are DCP Firing Range, and before we end the podcast, I'm going to go around the table and let you know where each of our hosts can be found. Cammy, tell the people at home where they can find you.
Twitter.com/CammyCakesYT, Twitch.tv/CammyCakes, and YouTube.com/CammyCakesGaming. Thank you, everyone.
Cool guy.
YouTube, Twitter, it's going to be Cool Guy Games. And yeah, it feels good to be back, man. 2 weeks is a long time.
Damn right.
Good to have you.
Drew.
Twitch.tv/Drewskys and YouTube.com/Drewskys channel. Twitter, Drewskys channel.
Merc.
You can find me on the Destiny Massive Breakdowns podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, and on Twitter at Mercules904.
And I'm Fallout. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/FalloutPlays, twitch.tv/FalloutPlays, and on Twitter at FalloutPlays. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you listening, and we will catch you next time. Boom. Audio cut, but we are still live on Twitch.
You're going to have to let me use that steady hand, Fallout. Like
Oh,
seriously,
dude,
I was like,
I
what do you think of
love
steady
it.
hand? I'm like,
So-
I can't talk intelligently about it.
I'll let you. Dude, I have so many. I
When you
can't believe
said
how many
that-
I got.
When you talked about the role that you had, it was just, you made it sound so like pathetic. Oh my god.
I
Well,
got
it was.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm holding on to 6 of them right now that I feel good about. I got a bunch, but I'm holding on to 6.
got a
2
good
still in
one.
my
I got
Titan Postmaster.
Ricochet rounds, moving target, and swashbuckler.
There you
Was
go.
the one I
That's
ended up
pretty
getting
good, yeah.
after the end of this Iron Banner. I'm pretty happy with.
No, hold on, time
go.
out. People in the Twitch, when we say the audio is cut, we mean that we recording our side Audacity track to be edited into the podcast later is cut. But again, we're still live on Twitch, so we are fully understanding that you can hear everything that we are saying right now.
Yeah,
Don't tell
just
them about the
cut the
thing.
feed. Cut
Yeah,
the feed.
cut the
What, they
feed!
can hear us?
Shut it down!
Now that we're off, okay, I only want PvP to be hand cannon, shotguns, and snipes.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, now that we're off, fucking hate this game. God, get me back to
Have
Cyberpunk
you-
where I can bang hookers.
Have you guys seen the what was that now?
Who we rating?
Have you guys seen the people who are complaining that steady hand is OP right now?
That it's
Yep.
OP?
Yeah.
Definitely
I think
have.
it's incredibly
Dude,
good.
I
but
think True
I don't
Prophecy is comparable.
No,
It
I've
is
heard
definitely
120s
comparable.
being overpowered.
Eh,
This is just not a discussion we want to get into with Neil Gaiman.
But who do we
I think
want
it's a
to
funny discussion to get into.
host on Twitch, by the way?
they are better.
I'm gonna
They
start
are
mobbing,
better
dude.
scouts
I'm
than
gonna
scouts,
start
though.
mobbing.
They are better
people
scouts than
online.
scouts, though. I'm sorry.
You're waiting for me to take the. Yeah, this is where we reveal that we are in fact lizard people. Oh, is Hop on right now? 'Cause if she
let's see,
do
I'm
be,
looking at
that would be a
following list.
that would
Who
be
do
a
we got?
firm
I mean,
recommendation.
Tefty's playing Cyberpunk.
Hoplite
Planet
is
Destiny is on?
right now. Oh, good old PD.
Yeah,
My God,
who's
I mean, who? Yeah, I don't know who's on the PD channel right now.
5,000 watts.
What's she playing? Oh,
Hoplite?
Nio 2? What is that?
Yeah, Hoplite.
Let's go Hoplite. She's a sweetheart. Figuring out her stream schedule. Where the hell did that channel? Is it the Hoplite or Hoplite? It is the Hoplite.
The Hoplite.
Nailed it. All right, chat. Thank you very much for joining us. Go ahead and join the raid, even if for like a minute. You know, go hang out with Hop. We promise you, she's good people. Go check her out.
Send the love, spread the love.
There you go. Have a good time. We'll be back in 2 weeks, maybe, if there's anything interesting to talk about.
Hopefully, we can talk about the Hawkmoon rolls.
Yes, that would be a good call. Let's do that. All right. Catch you later, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Take care.